All right, we will call to order our May 17, 2023 meeting of the Park and Recreation Commission. Stacy, would you call the roll, please?
Sure. Mike Hindling.
I'm here.
All right, Chad.
Here.
Stedman.
Here.
Roy Edmonds. Mike Bannon.
Here.
Sarah. Here. Marty.
Here.
Christina. Here. Paul.
Here.
Larry.
Present.
James.
Here.
Howard.
Here.
I was going to say, we also have Tom Frazier, our new harbor master, new lead harbor master with us. All right, we all have a copy of the minutes of February 15, 2023 meeting that Chad circulated. I get a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Any discussion? Any changes?
Second.
Take a second. Thank you, Larry. Any discussion besides Larry's second? All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Minutes are approved. Any public comments on agenda items? All right. Then, now we come to the fun part, besides the fact that this pen is leaking on me. The fun part is, Chad, do you want to introduce Stedman here?
Yeah, welcome Stedman Taylor. He's the recreation specialist for the Parks and Recreation Department. So he's been here for about 2.5 weeks now, and already accomplishing a lot, taking a lot of new ideas and activities on, and we'll let you talk for a few minutes and tell us about yourself.
Hi, everyone. Been here for about 2 weeks now. I've been in the field of recreation for the last 2 years. I was with the city of Troy as a recreation supervisor, where I oversaw their birthday party program that they had there, discipline programming for martial arts classes, fitness classes, and then I helped out with a little bit of special event support as well. Looking forward to learning some more here, and just looking forward to being here, and can't wait to get the ball rolling even more.
Welcome. Yes.
Happy to have you here, Stedman. All right, so we have, probably for the first time this month, our plan of having Chad circulate a director's report, which he did, and I hope everyone's had a chance to review. And then we have broken down the agenda. The first 4 items are with the subcommittee structure that we put in place. So, Chad, you want to start with Windmill Point?
Yeah. The first item is the sun deck located next to the Lavins Activity Center. And there's also the structure that provides protection to the pool equipment. We just got approved at the council meeting for the needed repairs on that. Ramp Construction Services has already done their site visit, and that project will begin May 22nd and will wrap up just before school lets out for the summer. We've already discussed daily operations. Their crew will be out daily by 3:30 p.m. So any pool opening at 4 o'clock in the evening won't be impacted by that. None of their work will impact any of the mechanical operations for the pool, and everything will be done in a timely manner. They don't see any issues that will create any problems for them or push them back or anything. They're ready to go. It's scheduled for them. And they're going to start off with an area near the pool entrance. It's kind of the side door of the Lavins Activity Center. It's the door you usually go in to get into the locker rooms before going on the pool deck. So that will all be taken care of before Memorial Weekend when the pool opens. So it'd be nice. It won't see any crumbling concrete, anything like that. So it'll be a nice aesthetic look when they go into that. Any questions regarding the sun deck?
Are they actually replacing the concrete, or are they just
Repairs.
Just repairs. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it mostly that same area, or is it all the way around the pool?
It's all the way around the sun deck itself. So the top of the sun deck and the sides, everything will be repaired and resealed, added a drain in there so that water won't collect on top of it.
And just to be clear, the sun deck is up a story, right? It's the one
Yeah.
that's, yeah, okay.
Second item, some playground equipment. We're putting in some new rockers and bouncers, tri-rockers and single rockers just behind the concession stand. You might remember some of the older ones that we had back there. We've now removed those, put in the plastic border around the outside. They're setting up the foundations for those. Those will also be installed before Memorial Weekend, so that'd be a nice added feature as well for the holiday weekend. And then we'll put in the mulch once those are installed.
So as a reminder with the new structure, buildings are separate from the rest of Windmill Point. But does anyone have questions for Chad on anything that was in the director's report regarding Windmill Point? Or I guess any new items that have come up since the preparatory emails? Hearing none. All right.
Next, we'll move on to buildings and facilities.
Oh, I'm sorry, are you leaving Windmill Point?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I thought you were moving the cement work. Okay, so Windmill Point, couple things. One, this may be in the buildings piece of it, but something that was discussed, and that was, I know there was a lot of visibility as it relates to the movie theater.
Why don't we hold that one till we?
You want to hold on to that? So, and the second one, just in terms of programming. Speaking with Chad, I think there's some opportunities that we're beginning to vet out as it relates to partnerships with, I would say, a real bastion of intellectual capital and enthusiasm, and that's Grosse Pointe South. And the four buckets that we're looking at right now is one, there's some club opportunities. So students that want to start a club to do volunteerism. Two, just pure volunteerism, where we can bridge that delta, I think, with just bandwidth realities in terms of staffing. Three, recruitment for summer. I think we have a tremendous opportunity from a summer employment standpoint. And then lastly, I've personally spoken with Steve Bernard, who is the Grosse Pointe South varsity basketball coach. And I've spoken with Chad Heather, who is the varsity football coach. And I think as long as win for certainly the park from a revenue standpoint, a win for the residents primarily, and then a win for Grosse Pointe South, they are very bullish about opportunities to partner moving forward with classes, with camps, and with additional programming. So more to come with that, but I think this is a good product of the brainchild of Marty, Michael, in terms of having subcommittees. I don't know if this would have been possible, maybe this time a year ago. So more to come.
And that is exciting. I'm happy to hear it, Paul. The other thing, and I'm not sure who's spearheading the conversations, whether it's you or Chad, but with Stedman's background in youth programming coming to us from Troy too, that seems like a great way to capitalize on some of our new skill sets with Stedman on board.
We were just discussing the possibility today, so we're going over that.
Excellent. Okay, anything else on Windmill Point as distinct from the facilities? All right, let's move on to buildings, Chad.
The concession stand, we were also approved for this upcoming fiscal year for remodeling that building. So we're going to focus on some of the exterior projects, replacing rotten wood, things like that, repainting, to give that a facelift going into the holiday weekends and summer as well. So I'm looking forward to that project.
And is that something we think will be done before Memorial Day?
I'm hoping so. I think we can accomplish it for sure. Looking at that, so if we have the funds available, there'll be some interior work as well. If there's any tile repairs, window replacements, we're going to try to. things I think we're gonna be looking at. Possibly, depending on how many projects Grosse Pointe Park Foundation wants to take on, that could be a project we look at in the future. So it's another one of those things that we don't want to sink too much money into the existing facility. If down the road we have plans to put a second level on there and, you know, have a deck that overlooks the marina, or if we add a small room onto the back that's similar to like a Lindell lot, where you could have a small 30-person rental versus, you know, having 30 people going to the Tompkins Community Center, and it's just a little bit too big and maybe too pricey for a group of that size, but they'd rather be at Windmill versus, you know, Patterson Park.
And remind us, Chad, what the plan is for concessions this summer.
We just signed a contract with JB Set, who'd been there in the past. We had the city attorney look over the contract. They made some revisions, and they signed that as of today. And they should be open on Saturday, Memorial Weekend.
Wonderful.
Who's that again?
It's John Bilski, and it's JB's Hut.
JB what?
JB's Hut.
JB stuff, okay.
And then theaters, that's where we're gonna touch base on. As some of you may have saw, we had sent out a constant contact and a Facebook post, just kind of informing the residents of what some of the aftermath can look like if you don't clean up after a popular movie. So it's great to have popular movies that sell out. But if you aren't somewhat respectful and conscientious of leaving your empty pop cans, dumping your popcorn out, not picking up the containers, it makes a lot of work for our staff that's, as you know, limited at this time. So it doesn't look like that for anyone going into the next show. That is just the aftermath that staff has to clean up. For example, that post that we put out took 2 staff members about 3 hours to be able to clean up the theaters after that. So again, it's great having, you know, fantastic movies and huge crowds. Sometimes that's the aftermath we have to deal with. So we just want to put that out there so people are aware, or can at least, you know, let their children know if they dropped them off, that better not be you. And next time, you know, you're going to have somebody go with you. We've also implemented in that we'll have projectionists go into the theater towards the end of the movie and just kind of stand in the corner, smile, wave, have a nice night, things like that. That might, you know, get them to pick up a container that they may have left behind now that they see someone in there. It's not to intimidate anyone, it's just to let them know, have a nice night, but we are here. So,
We are watching.
yes. Any questions, concerns regarding the theaters?
I just think that short-term challenge, and I think that was an anomaly more than anything. Bottom line is we popcorn, debris all over the floor, and that happens at movie theater at times. But I think the big takeaway is the utilization of social media in terms of, I think we rely heavily on the park communicator, which is very powerful in terms of validation. So it's validated, it's vetted, it's clean, it gets out. But I think what we lose sometimes is what social media does, and that's velocity. So that was, I think, a great example of, we had an immediate issue, we had some velocity out to the community. I think the feedback was pretty universally positive. I would also say, we talked about this, we're going to start using Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Certainly there's a level of decorum, professionalism, a salient message that we should be mindful. I don't know that we breached that, but I think if we're gonna, a great powerful tool, I think it's something that certainly the communicator has some shortcomings. I just want to make sure we're mindful and that we're communicating what we want to communicate it with the decorum that we want to communicate it with. So,
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it all raises a bigger issue here. We have a Parks and Rec specific Facebook account, right?
No,
We have,
it's
sorry, it's
the
just
city.
the city, and then people tag you when they're a Parks and Rec question. And same thing, we don't have a Parks and Rec specific Twitter or other social media account, right? So anything that we want to do social media wise, Paul, is coming to the general city followers, subscribers, whatever it is. is there enough communication that you want to do, that you want to explore doing a Parks and Rec type social media account? Or is this something that you think isn't necessary? I'm trying to think, can we use this to our advantage for programming and other things as well?
Sure. I think using the city Facebook page will be okay, just because I'm not sure if other departments would be able to put enough on the city Facebook page in itself. Not to say they wouldn't be able to. We are able to kind of help fill those voids with other departments, Public Works, City Hall itself, where we can fill in on days or put enough posts out when we have the staff available to do that. And that's where I'm hoping with Stedman now, we can look at some other avenues as well, potentially Instagram, some other ideas where we can put some things out there. Have you been in the park? That would be something nice with the new playground equipment. We can pop something out there. So we're going to look to add some of the ones we're going to talk with, obviously the city's attorney, Nick, the city manager, and see if we can add some additional marketing, advertising avenues and streams. So.
Yeah, I'd be interested, and this is perhaps longer term, and I'd open it up to the group for their thoughts. I'd be interested in ways that we can capitalize on this for all the reasons Paul's describing. The Communicators Quarterly, and it has many advantages and many disadvantages. Social media is the flip side of that coin. So I'd be interested in hearing back when you guys have a chance to get, Stedman gets feet under him and get to the summer rush. I don't think this is a for the next meeting type item, but perhaps the next one, as you guys have a chance to catch your breath after the summer, to talk about how we can further promote some of the stuff you guys do is incredible, and you read it here, like in your director's report, and go, wow, we should tell more people about this.
Yeah.
Right?
And Constant Contact is a good resource for that as well. We're able to send out basically city emails to everybody that's signed up for it. So those are some things we can include to residents as they come in the busier months. Make sure you sign up for Constant Contact. That's where we do a lot of the advertising for this program, or here's this class coming up, Camp Windmill, things like that. We'll send those out. So that's a really nice route that we can go. The more we get people signed up with their emails too, to get those, as long as it doesn't go and they just get a ton of emails that day and it falls to the wayside. But
Sure.
that's another avenue that we use.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say on that note with communication, and as a resident, like I was unaware, I'm still not sure of, is the concession stand, when is that gonna open? What about the classes?
Yep.
Are you holding off on communicating that because we're not set yet? Because a lot of other clubs I belong to have already been sending out a slew of information regarding
Yep.
all of them.
Some of that is with staffing, trying to squeeze it into the day of getting some of that stuff out. Most of that actually is going to be coming out tomorrow. So we've almost got everything prepared that the plan is for program registration information will go out tomorrow. Splash pad opening will probably go out on Monday or over the weekend. Pool hours and operations closed for swim meets, that kind of stuff, hopefully will go on Friday. We just finalized and tweaked a few things with our returning lifeguard staff and new lifeguard staff to figure out the exact number of classes we can offer. Same with tennis. We got our assistant instructors, the karate camps. So we'll have a bunch of information coming out in the next few days.
And that'll come out through Constant Contact and be on the city
Facebook,
website?
Constant Contact, yep, the
Okay.
website.
Is there a published policy for the city on what kinds of topics require an activation of that kind of communication? I recognize your concern that like too many is too many and becomes part of the junk mail folder, right?
Sure.
But not enough is not enough
Right.
also. So like here we are in mid-May, people don't know when their swimming lessons are going to be offered. People don't know when the, concession stand is opening and so on. So like, I don't want to be overly cautious and not communicate enough either.
Yeah.
So I guess what are the parameters that sort of,
Typically, we try to go within the city to like 3 posts a day, no more than 3 posts a day. So you just have to look at what's being scheduled. Also, again, with some recent changes the last few months within the department, trying to capture everything in a day, just sometimes with what's going on. Then only a certain number of staff have access to the website, to Facebook, to constant contact. So you're limited on who could post, and there's nobody that's designated in the city for social media. So I take on social media, Stedman will take on social media. Some of the girls at City Hall, say DPW, there's different people who are tasked with doing that. It's not one person who says, give me what you've got coming up, and we'll put that out.
And there's not like a scheduled every day there is one update or every day there's a morning and an afternoon or something like that.
Not at this time. We try to put out what we can, and that would be those things. Sometimes it just fall, you don't know necessarily, so you've got to check to see what's scheduled for on there. But that's one thing moving into, I think, this fall season and going into next, late winter, early spring, all that information will be set ahead of time. When Stedman has the time to work with me 6-7 months, he'll have an understanding of what a summer season is like here in the park. And we'll be able to plan that stuff a little bit more ahead of time so that we have a better idea of the number of returning. The lifeguard staff might always kind of be a challenge now. Pre-COVID, you had a lot of college-age lifeguards. It was never a problem. That was the job to have. Since COVID, that's where it's become a bit more challenging. You've had, more so now you have younger staff, but they used to stay 4 or 5 years. Now they might stay 2 years and then they're on to something else. So you're not quite sure. I mean, we this year have more lifeguards than we've had in the last 2 or 3 years, but we probably overhired by 4 or 5 because I didn't think it made sense to say, we're at the number we wanted to hit. We're going to turn you away and send you to another city. And then we potentially need you next year. We don't have that because you've joined another city and you're going to stay there. We're just going to limit the number of shifts. And somewhat, I don't think a lot of them are going to have an issue. You're going to have your 5-6 lifeguards that want to work every day, and you're going to have to tell them they can't pick up that many hours, but you're going to have a good majority of them that as long as I'm working 2 or 3 days, I can trade some shifts away. They're not going to be angry starting out their first year, picking up 2 or 3 days here. But as for a lot of the other items, I don't think we'll run into the issue of being able to post that out. I don't like to wait until this time of the year. Getting out early and before everyone else keeps them in the park. It keeps them coming to our activities. We've also had a couple of discussions about getting our Nap Snackers program, maybe giving a facelift, changing the name, and even getting licensed as a day camp to run a holiday rather than how we used to do it would be 2-3 hour sessions, basically giving our staff a break in between those where you can run a camp that way and not be a legal licensed camp. Anything 4 hours or more, you'd have to be a licensed camp. So that's why it used to be just 3 hours. So Stedman's already been looking into that, and that's our plan is to bring that back next summer. So we're looking forward to that. We'll move on to classes, and I'm going to let Stedman touch base a little bit on that, and I'll follow up as well.
Something that I've been working on since I started day one was resuming fitness classes here. When I first started, I noticed that there was a huge gap in the schedule, in the gym schedule. And then there's a gap overall in terms of like classes that were available. So something that I've done is reached out to former instructors, reached out to newer instructors just to see, just to get the ball rolling in fitness classes, and I hope to resume them pretty soon. So sometime in the next couple of months. But not just fitness classes, I've also looked at other classes like art classes. I've reached out to art studios, see if they were available to do something with us in our parks, just to offer various different programs. Yeah, that's my update.
We've also had a Lego robotics program that started up this year in the Tompkins Center. Again, we've worked with them on days to kind of fill some voids in the Tompkins Center. Monday, Tuesdays sometimes aren't the most popular dates, so we bring a program in there, still see some revenue come in for it, and partner with another organization to offer a program in the park. It's been a nice way to bring that revenue in and offer something more. And again, with staffing, we don't have to worry about that because it's provided by a third party. So we still work together. We don't have to have someone there to oversee it and run the program schedule. And so that's been nice. And we're looking to hopefully add maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 more of those if we can. Okay, we've got 2 large parks. If we can, it doesn't have to be a 5-day art camp. It could be every Tuesday for 6 or 7 weeks. So that's the items that we're exploring right now. Instead, it's kind of taking the lead on that for me. So we hope to bring in, items and programs that kind of will just keep the gymnasium busy all day. He kind of arrived right after we finished up. If you remember, Sundays were pickleball, Monday nights were pickleball, Tuesday was volleyball, Wednesday was men's drop and basketball, Thursday was cornhole, and Friday was pickleball. So we had a lot of programs. It just happened to be, we're now getting to that warmer outdoor season. So those ended about the time that he came in. But we still have Rock City boxing, we still have karate. So you have to work on some of those. In the mornings, we have that kind of open time that Stephen was talking about. We need to just bring some instructors back in, depending on their class. Are you okay with the gymnasium? As you know, some of the HVAC systems in there can be loud, echoes. Is that the best place to run, a yoga class? If our numbers are smaller, something like the Lindell Lodge will work out perfect. So we can look at that. We're hopeful to bring back some type of a Tiny Tots or a Pipsqueak PE for those, preschool or younger ages that we had again pre-pandemic. Part of that was also the instructor was kind of at about the time to retire from offering that program anymore. We've already had a few individuals that are interested in bringing that program back. So the plan is to offer as many programs and classes in the gymnasium as we can, but still allow us to have time to be able to clean, sweep, and keep it safe and enjoyable for everybody to use all programs. Any questions regarding the classes?
More people in the park more often. That's a good goal.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, any other questions on buildings or facilities? All right, so Marina.
All right, I'll now introduce our lead harbor master, Tom Fraser. He's been with the Parks and Recreation Department for the last 2.5, 3 years as a gate guard. And obviously has an extensive background with our marina and being a Grosse Pointe Park president for many years. So I'll kind of let him take over and touch base on the marina.
Hi, I'm Tom, and I'm very, very happy to be part of this group. I'm very excited in my new role. I'm a retired sales manager, and I ran large car dealerships for 43 years as general manager and as a sales manager. I take this job as selling. We've gone very, very hard since March, filling the marina. We don't have any large wells available this year at this point. We've sold all the wells other than, I think there's 6 available right now on Pier 1, smaller wells. Our revenue is coming in very, very well. I've been following up with phone calls to everybody who has not paid their balance yet. This year, I have not been charging 10% as a late fee because I'm just getting everybody to know me. I want everybody in the marina to know me. I'm there at least 3 days a week. The next few weeks, I'll be there 4 or 5 days a week, making sure that everything is done correctly, getting very organized, making sure that I know the residents know me. If they have any questions, I'm a boater. I've been a sailor all my life. I've been I was in this marina for over 25 years. I know almost every single dock in the place and everything that needs to be done. I will help do everything I can to make it run smoothly. I've told Chad that if there's ever a situation like we had a couple of years ago with a huge storm at night, that I'll be at the park. I'll be making sure that our residents are taken care of, that our harbor is in good hands and safe, and that what I do differently than some other guys, I know how to tie a boat up. If something's broken on a boat, dock line, for example, I won't run to the shack and call you in the middle of the night and tell you that your boat is banging against the wall. I'll fix it. And then I'll call you and tell you I fixed it and that you should come down and take a look. Okay? I think Chad and I have been working very, very well together, hand in hand. He's taught me an awful lot as far as the day-to-day operations of the marina. I knew it pretty well coming in because I've been there for a long, long time. When I first hired in as a gate guard after I retired, I thought, boy, this is a great job for me. And I told Chris Talmadge the day that I came in and filled out my application, he asked me what I wanted to do. And I said, your job. And God, now I am. So I think I'm very, very well qualified. I'll do everything I can to help anybody. You can all have my cell phone number. You can call me anytime if you have any questions, if you have any concerns about the marina that I can help with, I'm there. You are all, as well as all of the residents of Grosse Pointe Park, as well as all the marina people that have wells are all invited to a pancake breakfast put on by the Grosse Pointe Sail Club on Memorial Day. We've done it for years and years and years. It'll all be posted tomorrow. We'll put it online so that all the residents know that there is a free pancake breakfast for all the residents, anybody in the harbor. We'll have a little harbor meeting afterward. I like to address some things that I see on the dock that some folks don't really know how to tie their boats up. And I'd like to teach them the right way so that their boats don't get broken. I'm at your service. We'll keep that marina as tip-top shape as we can. As far as our budget goes, one thing I wanted to ask, we have some volunteers possibly available through Grosse Pointe South, through basketball kids and football kids. Any volunteers available that one big project that Chad and I have been talking about is before we do a big major renovation in the harbor is sprucing up the harbor. One of the big things of my concern and Chad's concern, I think everybody in this room's concern, is the way our marina appears to the public today. The maintenance on the marina has fallen off dramatically. The main pier, where everyone uses it to walk their kids, to go down fishing and so forth, is in pretty poor repair right now. It's just cosmetics. I think that, if we had volunteers and we had a couple of supervisors, and if we had 10 kids or 20 kids and 3 or 4 power washers that they can trade off and on, we could power wash that main pier, I think, in a weekend. And the following weekend, I think it dried out, we could paint it. And again, volunteers would be great. I have reached out to several painting companies that I'll have estimates, but I'm sure the estimates on painting that main pier is probably going to be in excess of $20,000. Just off the top of my head. That's a lot of money. If we've got a budget that we have some funds available before the next budget comes out, I think the things that really need to be addressed are the safety items, the electrical on our docks, and the water. The water right now is the new PVC. I've talked to Chad about this yesterday, and he's talked to the water department and a couple of boaters that once we turn the water on, there's algae in the lines. Algae can't go in people's holding tanks. Algae will plug up their filters in their boats. Algae can be a really, really huge detriment to a boater. So the water is off, I believe, today, right?
Yep, it's on.
Dock 4, it's off. There's no water on Dock 4 today. So we'll address that, and I know that we probably need to replace all that PVC. That PVC wasn't built or being used when the water came up and destroyed our water system on the marina. It's gone, right? So we had to do something, and we replaced it with the PVC PEX line. It works, but it's only good for a year or two. This is the 3rd year, and it's in poor condition as far as safety for water. It's not potable, but that's okay. Potable, excuse me. My wife corrected me on that. It's not potable, it's potable. But with the algae, that can hurt somebody's boat. The algae in the lines, and I got a couple of phone calls for, I know an awful lot of people in the marina, they all have my cell phone number, they call me all the time. And that's good, that's okay, because I'll communicate with them and I want to take care of an issue as soon as possible. So Chad and I talked about that, we'll have the water department on it.
They checked yesterday, right after the phone calls.
Right after the phone call, so we're on it. And communication, I think, is the key for all of us. If anybody has any questions for me as far as what I'm doing, please let me know. I'm at your service.
Yep. Real quick, just one thing, just to put on the record regarding safety that has been brought up in the past. And I'd love your point of view on that. Sorry to do it in a public forum. We don't have any ladders for people who fall off the docks and
And we have ladders at the end of each pier. At the end of one, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's ladders at the end.
ends.
Chad and I have talked about it, we've addressed it, and we're also putting in throw rings.
Okay.
Throw rings in all the fire extinguishers, something Chad and I have talked about as well. We're doing that research now that we need throw rings in the marina in the event somebody does fall in, that we've got something to help get them out.
Yeah.
We cannot depend on somebody's splim platform to get them out,
Right,
as you know.
yeah.
And so we will have additional ladders installed. Chad, I know, has already been online looking at ladders, and so have I. And the throw rings, I believe we can do with our maintenance department and get those installed on the fireboxes. So there's a couple on every dock.
And one other quick thing about fire suppression, because I do think people, I've just heard a lot of different banter back and forth. You probably recall that one boat several years ago. Do we have fire suppression at the marina?
It's in a
Okay.
storage shed right next to the Tompkins Center office. Public safety comes
Sometimes I
down,
hear
checks.
that people saying, no, there isn't. So there is. And that these are, communicating this to the voters is really important. All sorts of rumors and different things are said. So. Okay, great, thanks.
You're welcome. Anything else? Anyone?
As chairman of the Marina Subcommittee, I would just like to say how happy I am that you've taken this on, Tom. Tom is married to the current Grosse Pointe Sail Club Commodore, and he is a past Commodore of the club himself. And so that's really a great experience, and I'm sure he's going to do a terrific job for us. And I'm glad you brought up I was going to bring up the algae in the lines. I think we've got to do something about that sooner rather than later, because those PEX lines apparently are just translucent enough that it grows inside. And one of the boaters on Pier 3 yesterday told me he turned it on, it came out literally green out of the hose. So that is not good. Anyway,
Well, welcome, Tom. Thank you. Happy to have you.
I did follow up with that individual. Water department came down the same day, ran the line he used at the very end. Their story is it was clear as can be.
was that right?
Yeah. Now what it is that was an extension off the original. So it could have been that something did get caught or clogged somewhere else and then finally forced out through that end. It's very possible. They do have some ideas. I forget the exact term for it, but I believe it's called like a 1-inch pig. And they will shoot that through, and that will send, if there's anything that is caught, trapped, we'll send that through and it'll come out the end. They'll also have some connectors at the ends of all of those lines, but they will run those and just put locks on them so they can turn them on and let it run. So if it sits too long without getting any flow through it, they'll turn them on and let them run for a period of time as well. But yes, we've already had the discussions that those have lived a nice long life, but it might be time for replacement.
Yeah.
And I've talked to the board about it as well.
Okay, great. Anyway, welcome, Tom. Thanks.
Larry forgot to tell you, I was the DRYA
Oh, yeah,
Commodore last year.
that's right.
And that's in charge of all the clubs.
Association of all the clubs in the area.
Also, that presents some nice connections and relationships with other areas, potentially contractors, things like that. Resources for time to be able to reach out to and find out if there's some projects we've got, which we have a couple right now that we are kind of trying to figure out how we can do some repairs. He now has those individuals organizations who will reach out and maybe they could help us out with previous contractors or other expertise on what they would do if they faced any of the same challenges that we are right now.
I would add, welcome, by the way. I would add that kind of piggybacking on, piggybacking on what you guys were talking about with respect to communication, I would love to see communication enhanced for the boat owners in terms of, safety and ladder and rings and, you don't know how to tie up your boat, I'll help you, and maybe, I'm holding a seminar on this date because, my husband and I have been boaters for years and years and years. But we know lots of people that just got boats and honestly, they tell us behind the scenes, they have no idea.
COVID, they all want
They just don't, they don't know how to park their boats, they don't know how to tie their boats, they don't know how to do much.
There, as part of the pancake breakfast, which will be publicized, there'll be a marina meeting right after the breakfast at 11 a.m. That my wife will have, as Commodore of the Gross Point Sail Club, she'll have a few words to say, and then Chad and I will address the harbor and any questions that anybody has. And at that time, I will offer help to anybody that needs help with their boat. As people come into the marina, when I'm there, and I'm on the grounds, I always ask them to need help. So
Is it true that you're going to be willing to wash boats for people?
Larry, after like, $300 or $400.
Yeah, okay.
After I'm off. But
I think that'll be a good time to.
I watch people on the way to Port Huron one day.
I think that'll lead us into the marina survey time, if you want to touch base on that.
The marina survey, we've been back and forth with our contractor. We've rewritten his proposal, sent it back to him, Mike Morphy. And it's about ready to, once it's approved, to go out to all of our voters. I think we have what we need to ask voter-wise as far as what voters are looking for in updates. We want to ask them about our waiting list, about our move list, if they're planning on getting a new boat in the next 5 or 10 years, what kind of boat do they have now? What kind of boat might they be moving to? So we can address all these things with our next thing, our marina proposals. The marina proposals originally, when I first came on board, we were looking at good, better, and best. We had a subcommittee meeting a week ago, and we kind of narrowed that down to good or better. Because we know best is going to be way out of budget for our city. We're talking about a lot of money to blow that place up and to redo everything. Structurally, I think we've got a really, really good bones in that marina. At the main dock going out, it's a 400-year wall. And it hasn't been there 100. So that wall's not going anywhere. It needs to be resurfaced, and like I said, it needs painting and sprucing up. The top boards need to be replaced because the ice gets to them.
We've had some
Ice
discussions regarding that as
And we had
well.
discussion, and we're probably gonna replace it with like a Trex type plastic decking. And it'll be back a little bit further so that the ice can't get to it, to push it up and off. Right now, we've got some issues with the top boards on the main pier, which will be addressed. At the same time, I think when we're talking about cleaning up that main dock. And not only cleaning up and painting those areas, but the main thoroughfare when you come into the marina, at the end of 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. In some of those areas, they really need some attention as far as paint, some boards replaced that are not in good condition. And Chad and I've talked about it, and we're on track as far as getting this stuff done.
Yeah, and a thing to take into consideration with some of those are as, the last couple of years, it probably looks like items have been ignored or neglected. And to an extent, you could say that they have, but part of that comes back to budget cuts and a deficit for the city and the lack of staff. If you used to have 12 to 14 part-time seasonal summer help with 2 or 3 full-time staff members, and then you lose some full-time staff members and you have 1 or 2 now, and you're down to 3 or 4 part-time individuals, that now might have responsibilities of cleaning and setting up the Tompkins Community Center, which didn't used to be one of their tasks or requirements, helping out in the Lavins Activity Center because you don't have the cleaning staff, going out replacing top rails in the marina, weeding one of the playground, mulch beds, just changing trash, leaf blowing tennis courts, pickleball courts, setting up the Lindell Lodge for a rental. You start to factor all those in, replacing boards on the boardwalk. If you have 3 or 4 guys, you just can't physically get to those, like removing seaweed. You could send 2 high schoolers out there for an entire day and remove seaweed. But if you don't have them, or you have limited abilities with some of the staff, you have to pick what's most important for that day. And some of that might be, you have a Tompkins Center rental, you have a memorial, that has to get done. Does that mean the top rails get done? Probably not. You try to find those dates when you can squeeze it in, and it might only be getting a handful. That's why we're looking at replacement options. And for now, some of that subcontract work might make sense, not long term, but now get us back to where our standards and what we want as a park to be able to show it off when people come down for Memorial Weekend. This is a beautiful park. You're top notch, up to par, exactly what we want. And then as the staff starts to come back, we're seeing it right now. I don't know if it's being lucky with the lifeguards, but we've seen those numbers come back again. Will they last as long as they used to, work for us 6 years and they're third year of college? Probably not. That's a big challenge we faced with having, if you think about it, 3-4 years ago, the pool would open on Memorial Weekend and be open every day, all day until school got out and then until Labor Day weekend. Now, with the age of the staff that we have, it opens up in the evening after school gets out. And we've got lots of requests for our elementary school picnics to make sure we've got the staff down there. It's possible, I'm not making any promises, but we might have staff for the seniors graduating early and exams going on, that's finals week. We might be able to have staff to do some of that. And I can't promise that it will be, and it's going a little bit off topic. I'm trying not to. I just want to inform you of the challenges we face on a daily basis with marina work, things like that. You're also requesting that those kids come in and work 4 or 5 hour shifts on nights that they're supposed to be studying for finals and preparing. As long as they can handle it, and they will, we can make that happen. But we're going to do the best that we can, and that leads us back to a lot of work needs to take place in that marina to get it back to where we want it until we figure out what the big project is. If you don't have the staff to do it, we'll have to subcontract some of that work. We're also in a position that we're trying to save and build up our reserve as much as we can. So some of that was put a Band-Aid on it for the last 2-3 years, as Larry knows what our reserve started at and where it's at now is a significant increase in 2 years. It's still not enough to even do electrical on Pier 5. So you've got to pick and choose, is it worth it? And what is the plan in 3 years to repair those things? A big picture aesthetics is paint the main pier, paint the ends of the finger piers as you come through the channel, so it looks nice. Once the boats are in there, you don't see as much of the paint crumbling, and it was underwater for 2 years. Presents the challenge of, we'll get into later, rub rails.
So I think we jumped into repairs a bit
Yes.
there. So if we want to circle back to the proposals and where
Yep.
things stand on the proposals.
Yeah, sorry.
The proposals aren't in writing yet. Okay, we're in discussion phase right now, and Mike Morphy, before he puts, and we told him to stop. Like 2 weeks ago, we said, approximately 2 weeks ago, we were looking at good, better, best, and for him to draw up some stuff, and then we decided we were premature by maybe a couple weeks. Let's get the survey done, get their input on the survey, and they want to do it through SurveyMonkey. Once that information is gathered, they have a better idea of how to propose and what to propose as far as what our residents are looking for.
And Tom, are we going to be surveying residents who are not current boat owners to see if they could be attracted to the marina based on what we're doing, or are we only going to survey current marina users
Current
Marina
and
users and wait list users.
and wait list? Okay.
We've talked about this, and I don't think it's really necessary at this time to send this survey to every resident of Grosse Pointe Park.
Sure. And, there's intermediate solutions too, a sample size, whatever it is. But the conclusion is it's the wait list and the current users will help give guidance for what we're doing project-wise.
Basically, what we're looking at, there was a very productive subcommittee meeting that we had. We're now, after having that discussion, have a better idea of significant changes we can make on Pier 1 that may not be needed on Piers 2, 3, 4, 5, because we have the size wells that we want. We know what are popular wells now, but if we make adjustments or size changes on Pier 1, we might lose a little bit, but we can fill that with potential jet ski wells and other areas to make up for some of that. You'll only be losing a foot or two on each well in there. So it may help us with a kind of good, better solution.
The wells on Pier 1 are 8.5 feet wide by 29 feet long. That limits the number of boats you could put, or what type of boat you could put on Pier 1. You don't want a 26-foot boat, 8.5-foot beam, if that's all you got, 8.5 feet. You don't want to put him on that dock because he's going to be touching the boat next to him. You don't want that. Safety-wise, storm-wise, damage-wise, I don't want anybody coming back after the city saying, well, you put me in there, and now my boat's all jacked up. Although they have insurance, you know, I don't want some legal people to come and say, yeah, you're right, that guy should have never been in there.
Lawyers.
Yeah.
Town full of them.
I just want to mention that the Marina Subcommittee did recognize that, of course, the marina is a huge value to the city, not just for boat owners who are keeping their boats there, but for just regular residents who appreciate looking out at the boats and going out on the main pier and fishing and all of that. It's a huge asset for the city. And we recognize that, and we're taking that into consideration as we go forward with plans.
I think that's a key point. That's something I get asked about all the time now, is what's going on with the marina, because, I'm not a boater. Most of the city isn't boaters, right?
You should be.
I'd love to. I just got to get a 6-foot wide boat and put it on one of those empty wells.
There you go. There you go. Sounds perfect.
So, I see that our property values are all affected by having a functional and frankly, probably impressive marina. And we're not really competing with the cheapest options. We're competing with Grosse Pointe Shores. We're competing with Grosse Pointe City. So, on the point of a survey, I don't know what the right answer is in terms of your guys' priority, because certainly the boaters' needs should be first when addressing the needs of the marina. But I think that there's probably a lot of interest in non-boaters on the marina, both what's happening. People walk in there, they see that it looks kind of shabby. They don't want it to look shabby. In fact, want to be proud of it because it will draw, families into the city. But I don't know. I think there's probably some kind of middle ground, like Mike was saying, that we could get a little bit more input from non-boaters that is productive. There's a consensus that we don't want to have to pay for it if we're not going to use it, of course, right? But we have to kind of measure what we ask for because we might not like the responses. But I think there might be some room for a general survey, but maybe this isn't the time for that. But I think there's probably a desire to be included in the process a little bit.
Maybe once we get the good and better proposals in, that might be a good time to help us decide what really is important to go forward with some input from the remainder of the citizenry.
Particularly with a little more clarity on how will it be funded and so on.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe at that point, there's a second survey.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Right.
there's still a long road ahead of us as much as we're trying to get this moving. And I know the subcommittee's working hard on it. I think that I'd like to make sure that we're able to tell city council and tell Nick Seisland, yes, we've considered the needs of the entire community. So starting with the boaters to say, what can we target? Because one of our challenges is, as this group, or many of this group knows, is when you have a nebulous, let's fix the marina, it's very hard to give meaningful feedback. So as you guys are able to help progress through that, I do think we should keep in mind reaching out to the entire community, but that may not be today.
Michael, I'd say one thing. I know there was a survey monkey. I'd be curious to see the survey,
The results of the survey or
the
both?
survey itself.
Yeah,
And I'll tell you where my head's at. In terms of asking the bells and whistles of a marina, there's a few questions that I hope were asked. And that is, are you willing to pay more for this? I've heard a lot about, do you want, this, that, or the other? Because this funding is kind of the elephant in the room. And I hope that these are meaningful, transparent conversations from the very beginning, that if there's a good, better, best, every one of those stratas are going to involve some cost.
Marty's gonna pay for it, so we're okay.
Yeah. But I would hope that would be one of the springboards of the conversation from cradle to grave. That should be part of the conversation.
Well, and to Paul's point, I think one of the asks for the subcommittee should be to share the survey with this group, because this group will have friends, neighbors, people on the street say, hey, I heard there was a survey, and I think we should know what's in it and see it. Doesn't mean that it changes, and you'll still consider it for what it is. But I would like that when you have it ready to go to the group. And then at the September meeting, we can hopefully hear both about the survey and the proposals. I think by that point, the Marina Subcommittee hopes to have proposals in hand as well, right? So
You're hoping to get the survey out right away. I mean, it's virtually ready to go, isn't it, Chad?
yeah, no, our next meeting is September either 13 or 17. But if, Larry, you can make sure that, or Chad, if you're directly involved with this, get the survey to this group.
We'll be able to send that out before the next meeting.
Excellent. Yeah, and that's, the public engagement on this is going to be huge no matter what, both for financial reasons, for the size and scope of the project. There's going to be disruption at the parks, and because it's a crown jewel of the parks. So everyone's interested regardless of what their view is. So I think the more communication with this group that we can have from the Marina Subcommittee, the better. And if even those of us who are not voters always know someone who is, it's a small town. So that would be great. Any other questions for the Marina Subcommittee? All right, Patterson Park, Chad.
And I'll just touch base if it's okay, just on the repairs, just to speak that I know I
Sorry, I
touched.
thought we were covered that. Yeah, go ahead.
That's some of the stuff we're looking at too, when you're talking about, non-voters, how the aesthetically pleasing the marina is. Part of the problem challenge we faced is that marina was underwater for 2 years. So a lot of these piers that you see cracking, paint, falling out, things like that, not being able to repair rub rails or having to put those into a temporary riser finger pier are challenges we probably wouldn't have faced as much of or had to make these bigger decisions because we wouldn't have had those issues. Now getting bolts off and trying to replace rub rails with the risers and being able to get underneath there, whether they're in a boat or on top of the finger pier, have made that challenging because the bolts are so rusted that you can't get them off as easily. So you're replacing more items on there, and we're trying to come up with some ideas. We've met with a couple of contractors. Tom and I are discussing, same with all those areas with the paint. You come in the winter and try to paint and see if that will hold up when it's frozen. That might be when we can at least replace the rubber rails because we can get underneath. Right now, trying to put a contractor there and float underneath or get in there with a power tool and try and take bolts out isn't very easy and probably not the safest option to go with. So now we've got to think outside the box. How can we secure these rub rails when we can't get to the bolts to replace them the way they need to be? And again, the paint wouldn't be as much of a problem if it wasn't underwater for 2 years. It wasn't an expected impact. God, that we had to deal with their nature. So that presents more challenge than what it used to be. The main seawall, painting, things like that, yes, that's something that hasn't been impacted by high water, things like that needs to be addressed in the top rails. In staffing, that's where I think we're going to have to make a decision as a subcommittee, a commission, the city itself is how much money do you want to spend on these type of items until the big plan is in place? Do you want to spend $100,000, $150,000 to repaint the entire marina? If we decide that there are going to be significant changes, Do you want to spend, a couple $100,000 on new water lines if we're not sure that we're going to install them in the best area possible in the marina? So those are just some things to factor in with those repairs.
It's a big job.
Just one point, I think, the piers, being underwater hurts them too, but they're just like our houses where you think one year, you think it's starting, well, the next year, bam, it really needs it. And I think that's where we're at. I don't think they were in that bad shape, but it quickly needs to be, we need to look at it. Whereas last year wasn't quite as bad, so it's time.
We're anticipating that it will not be high water again enough to be a problem for a couple of years at least.
I'm hoping 20 or 30.
We're hoping 20 or 30, but as a result of that, one of the things that adds to the unsightliness of the marina are those risers, and we're looking at removing them.
Yeah.
That'll be a big improvement to the looks of the marina as well.
Dog park.
Dog park. Just wanted to touch base. It was more of work taking place inside of the dog park. Right now, we had looked for some fairly easy solutions with some of the grounds inside of the dog park itself. Mulch has been placed around the entire entrance of the park. We did a trial run of just putting it around half the entrance. It's worked well. As of the end of the day yesterday, everything is filled in that area. So we're going to monitor that from here on out. So now it'll just be spot replacement. I think that's going to go a long ways for the dirt and grass growth around that area. The other plan is drain tile at the south end leading to the catch basins. We're also going to look to adjust the level of the drain cover. We're going to lower that. Right now it's higher than that area for them to get to. We've checked all the drains, they're clear. So water will be able to flow through that. It's not being backed up. The other challenge we face, even with Public Works, is they only have about 5 guys right now that they can spare for certain things or that are out working on stuff. So getting a few of them in to work on the drain tile, we're looking at about another 2 or 3 weeks probably before we're able to get that work done. Part of it was, again, the wet season, taking any equipment in there, it's going to tear up the grass and put us behind that much more. So that's really where I wanted to inform everybody of what we're looking at right now with the dog park. Landscaping, and James, feel free, you are the chair for that kind of subcommittee. Gardens, we've had a lot of aged trim around the garden beds. We're pulling a lot of that and redefining the garden beds. A lot of that's already been done. We're also going to plan a garden program. Corinne Vance, our garden supervisor, met with Brian Coulter, our city forester, and Lisa Kyle from the Beautification Commission. We're going to take a large section of the inside of the boardwalk, kind of turn those into 10 by 10 flower beds, and individuals will sign up for those. There'll be a form that they basically complete, what they might put in there, what they want to put in there, and that will be approved by us. And that will be their flower bed, most likely for the year. So that is another way that's going to help kind of with a community volunteer program. I look at it as kind of your neighborly, friendly challenge of who's going to have the best flower bed in the park and helps us out. So I look forward to it. Somewhat early stages. James, I'll get you a little more involved with it as well. But this is going to be a nice opportunity. It might even be one of those things where we put just a small plaque in there to say what family has the flower bed for that year, to kind of show off the work that they're putting in there. It gives them a reason to come down and visit the park more and also help out our department and the city as a whole.
I think that's a great idea. Have you talked to the Beautification Commission about selecting a best of the plots or something like that? Put a little incentive in for a winner and announce in the communicator? Juice is flowing.
Exactly. That was kind of the thoughts behind it. And they've finished up a lot of work at Windmill right now as well. There's still a little bit to be done, but a lot of the focal points are finished. They've done some work up on Kirchville Avenue, and they're starting work over at Patterson. So you'll start to see more mulch in the flower beds, weeding, trimming. And that goes as far as the outside of the boardwalk as well. So a lot of areas, and there's about 3 or 4 staff members right now. And we're looking for some more. I think we've just received a couple more applications. So in the past, we've had about 7, 8, 9 individuals kind of for the spring to fall season. So that can be challenging because once next Wednesday hits, we'll receive all the flower pots for the city as well. And that will usually take 2 individuals just to water those throughout the week. So you lose them in other areas. But I think we're going to be okay with the way we're kind of changing some things up that we'll be able to keep up, and especially starting these new programs.
I just wanted to say the landscaping between the boardwalk and the water is looking really good. Danny's doing a really nice job out there. I really enjoy seeing the artwork and everything kind of cleaned up, and it's cool.
Yep. And to add on to that, some of these items you might see out there that look like it's intentional may not be. It may be stuff that is stacked off to the side while they're working through those areas, kind of creating some trails, cutting the dead grasses, things like that, removing things, and then using some of the natural things that have washed up or were put there in the beginning to kind of be a wall to protect that area, turned into somewhat of artwork or natural trails with the bricks. There's all kinds of things that Danny's found down there in the last year or so. It's been easy to imagine it wash up there, but has, and finding a way to use it or bring a company in to remove it all. So we'll next move on to pickleball courts. Again, we were approved for surface repairs. It's not a full-on fund of converting it to 6 courts or putting divider fencing and things like that. It's more so to repair cracks, put down paint in those spots that will need to be repaired. I've actually been out there and played the last couple of Mondays. It's only my personal opinion, but there's nothing yet that is extremely dangerous, anything like that. I played on one of the courts and I felt comfortable the entire time. But there's a lot of areas where the concrete sections were poured that you're starting to see those cracks. That's where we're going to come in, fill those areas, replace paint surface that's come on the playing court itself, and touch those areas up with the plan that hopefully going into the next fiscal year, this one is approved for this fiscal year that starts July 1. So that work will be taking place. And then hopefully going into the following fiscal year with the work, we've already had a few residents call in and generously tell me that they will give us some funds to convert those over to 6 courts, put the divider fences in. So we probably start up a potential Grosse Pointe Park Foundation or resident created fund to maybe help match some of that. And hopefully, a year and a half, we'll have the 6 courts, and you never know when the funds you get, it could be sooner. So what I just want to make sure is that the 3 courts we have are safe and enjoyable for everybody that comes down throughout this summer and fall season. Also start up some more lessons and leagues, hopefully carry some of our indoor leagues outdoor on a couple of nights or afternoons on the weekend, and I get another nice revenue stream for us.
Any questions, other comments on Patterson?
Could you give us an update on the playscape improvements that we talked about in the previous meetings and the possibility of using volunteer labor, which is really what built the thing in the first place?
Sure. The foundation has Sinclair Recreation for the project itself. There will be some opportunities for residents to help out. It's not going to be anything that is the main features itself. They won't let you, hammer anything in or tighten anything up. More the groundwork and mixing the concrete, pouring the foundation, things like that you can help with just as a liability standpoint. If you end up getting connected piece and someone falls through that area, we're likely going to come back on us. But there will be plenty of opportunities for volunteers and residents to be able to.
And that'll help with the cost, no doubt.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
And Chad, perhaps something to think about if there's more limited volunteer opportunities than there was the first time around. We do some sort of event around the volunteer time. So do a community barbecue, do an ice cream social, do something so that we can still have the community engagement with it. Even if they only need 20 people instead of 200, still make it a socialization aspect around the new playscape.
Absolutely.
Just something for you guys to think about that's going to be a lot schedule dependent too. If it's
Yeah.
a Tuesday at 10 a.m., a lot different than if you do it on the weekend.
Exactly.
What's your best guess at a target completion date at this point?
I think as motivated as everyone is, it's possible that we could have it done in the fall. I'm not entirely sure. I think that's kind of their plan. It's their project for this year, so I think they're going to want it done by the fall. Again, something along the lines of community flower beds, gardens around the outside of the playscape. A food truck and ribbon cutting ceremony night to invite everyone down. Those type of opportunities might make up for some of the chances you don't get to actually come down and install the slide. Instead you can come down and enjoy some free food and watch the grandkids or kids go on the slide. And I think that's kind of a goal. James has been somewhat involved with it. Probably has turned into somewhat of a passion for him as well. We want to make this enjoyable for as large of an age range as we can. We don't want to just focus on 2 to 5 and then you've grown up, you've outgrown it. We want it to be 13, 14, even some parents getting on those amenities with their children and everybody enjoying it together. Make it a little bit more challenging. For a while it was make it easy, almost kind of like that helicopter. You can't get hurt any way you go on there. You're going to be okay. Where now they've kind of gone back to challenge yourself, but you have to pay attention and know what you're doing so that way you can grow with that. And I think that's what we're going to be looking at. And I think a lot of kids, James himself, his kids have outgrown a lot of the smaller playgrounds because they're going all over the area. Let's not have to go all over the area. Let's keep them here and challenge them.
It's too simple, it's not challenging.
Are they gonna be starting during the summer? Like, will the current playscape be available through the summer?
I don't think it will be impacted. I don't have any of the specifics yet. There's a meeting scheduled for this Friday with the company. So we might be able to get a better idea at that point, and that's some information I can share once we kind of see where we're at. I don't plan on impacting the current playground use in June, probably not July. I don't know if August or September would change. I would personally like to put it off for as long as possible so that we can enjoy it and have a normal summer. And then once it kind of starts to slow down there, see if there's time to tear it out that quickly and get the new one out. And I would guess, more than likely it might be one of those things that with how good those companies are, it might only take them 10 days to install it once everything's done. I don't know for sure, but I'll find all that information out.
All right, Chad, so is it your expectation to put it in the exact same spot?
Yeah, it will still remain within the
same
footprint.
Yep.
What you will have to probably expect is that it's not going to be as much product that is there now, and that is a massive playground. But plus to that will be, though, we can fix it with certain things. This might be an ultimate sandbox where we have a shade structure over it to fill some of that space. And I know that's a neat thing, especially over at Windmill, a shade structure, a nicer looking sandbox. This might be the ultimate sandbox. But it also will allow you to be able to have areas where you can sit around that. A couple of moms can sit, and you'll still be able to see where they're at. They didn't fall through the tires. You don't know where they're at because you can't see through all of the wooden structure itself. You'll see each item that they're going to, so they'll be a little more open and be able to visually keep an eye on them and not turn your head for 5 seconds. You don't know where they wandered off to. So,
You said Windmill, you mean Patterson?
the sandbox that we have at Windmill
Sandbox.
could use a shade structure, and again, that's on the plan of the 3 to 4 year plan of updating the amenities over there.
Anyone else on Patterson? All right, unfinished business.
Just the seasonal and summer help. Stedman is kind of starting to see it now with the building at Lavins Activity Center. Certain areas we're looking good on staff, certain areas we're still hurting. So, the gardening department, maintenance, we can still use some help there. We're going to be putting out another blast. We've had advertisements up on the website for a while, so another blast is going to come out. that we're still looking for some areas. We have received a handful of applications, so hopefully we'll be hiring them soon. And that's just kind of where we're at. That goes hand in hand of how much work gets done, unless you want to subcontract it out with how many staff members you have on the payroll.
You said lifeguards are in good shape now?
Lifeguards are in great shape. We're good. I don't plan on any issues with swim lessons. And again, that stuff will be coming out tomorrow. So I'm telling you when to mark your calendars for the registration date. On to new business.
Actually, why don't we do this under unfinished business? So this was the first time we did the subcommittee meetings and we did the CHAD director's report in advance. If the subcommittees can make sure to get their items to Chad so that he has a chance to address them and get them into the report. I think I, for one, got the report with plenty of time before the meeting, so, from my perspective, if you need a little more time to get it ready, I could live with that. But I would ask the subcommittee chairs to make sure that you're getting things to Chad sufficiently in advance. We have a calendar now with when we want those in. And also don't feel that you have to wait. If your subcommittee meets 5 weeks out, send it to Chad. He won't mind the extra time to look into whatever the issues are. And I know that James had us out. We met, Chad was able to get DPW. We were able to go out and look at a number of things and a lot of Chad's reports here. I'm focusing on Patterson because I'm on that subcommittee. We've gone through 2 iterations of fixes with the half mulch and now the full mulch and some other things. So I do like the specific focus that we're able to put on it. Chad, any requests that you have for the commission in terms of the workflow here, other than getting the reports to you on time for you and Stedman to look into the questions?
I think that would be it. Try to keep it focused on what your area is. And I'll do my best to include it on there. Some of that could be communication that we'll just have as the group. If it doesn't quite get to the level and I can answer it quickly or Stedman can answer quickly, I might not throw it on there. We'll just answer if everyone knows that update.
Yeah, and feel free, by the way, if you're on the buildings subcommittee and you see something that is the sidewalk outside the building, just let the Windmill Point group know, and vice versa. Windmill Point may have issues with the buildings. There is some overlap on many of these. So I'm sure we'll be able, as we go forward, to get a better feel for snow removal on the sidewalks leading up to the theater. It's probably a Windmill Point issue, then the theater popcorn is the buildings issue. So, so far so good on that one.
I think that you make a great point. Just because you're on Patterson, but you happen to know something at Windmill, shoot it to that group. It gets up, everybody's eyes are seeing everything. Or you have a neighbor or a friend that sees something, take that and send it to that group and then send it to Stedman or myself.
And you all have each other's emails. We had designated Chris as the leader of the Marina subcommittee. Chris is now going to be replaced with Tom. So if you have anything Marina related, let's make a note there that goes to Tom. Otherwise, Sarah for buildings, Paul for Windmill, James for Patterson. And feel free to shoot them an email if you have, or shoot me an email if you're not sure who it is, and we'll get them the right people. Got it. All right, swim finals.
We are hosting swim finals this year, so that will be nice. Hopefully we'll go, I believe, back to back champions, and no better place to do it than on your home turf. Cool. So we're looking forward to that. Again, it takes a lot of planning, a lot of coordination. I will do my best to make sure that the community is notified. We're more than likely going to have to take trolleys from Patterson Park and bring individuals over to Windmill. So giving them enough time to let them know that, this may not be the best day to come down to the park, unfortunately, but it's for a great cause. There won't be a Tompkins Center rental or anything like that that will compete with it. And I just look forward to it. It's going to be a great season. We'll have a super competitive team. We've got a great group of coaches. And that's where I hope again in the next day or two to have out the information to the general public of here's the days that we will be closed for swim meets and the times. Here's when morning lap swim will be. Here's hours for holidays. Again, I can't tell you that it will go out regularly on a weekly basis, but there will be a big blast. I'll see if we can have it somewhere on the website to be able to check. And we'll also have basically 2x3 plastic boards on the pool deck, on the park areas, telling you what the season will look like. So when you come down there, you'll be able to read that in passing, and hopefully have it posted up in some other areas so everyone knows what day is a swim meet. Again, I'll try to work with the Mutant swim team to let you know, meet today, pool closes at 3, and open back up at normal hours the next day so everyone knows what's taking place with that, because it is a busy and popular item.
What's the date on
For the swim finals?
Yeah.
I'll double check, but I believe it is Wednesday, July 26th. And it'll be that Monday. Monday and Tuesday in the mornings will be prelims. So the pool will be closed for a few hours in the morning and then open back up that day for the rest of the evening. And then Wednesday we'll close for finals and open back up on Thursday. So there will be a few days. The other thing that we've now decided as a Lakefront Swim Association is rather than force Grosse Pointe Woods to host most of the teams that aren't able to host a finals, we are going to the cities that can host that. We'll take it for a 2-year run. So next year, Grosse Pointe Farms will host their final at Remote Point Park as well. So they'll be responsible for everything. But they are unable to host it, we'll host it, and then the next year it will, I think, go to Grosse Pointe City for 2 years, to Grosse Pointe Woods for 2 years, and then come back around.
Is that because of the farm's pool shape?
Yeah, the length of their pool. And then St. Clair Shores, if I remember correctly, is starting blocks. And then Grosse Pointe Shores, I think, actually is okay. I'll have to double check on that. There's a couple that are unable to. That's why they go to the other city. So we decided that each one of us will host 2 years so that it doesn't go to Nicky in the Woods all the other years. So just working together as a community. And then volunteer opportunities, again, we've touched on it, I think, throughout the meeting. The more we can get those put in place and individuals interested in it, it seems more and more like the interest is there, and let's get it out to everyone. I can't guarantee that we can get volunteer groups, nor do I want to put that on boat owners themselves to ask them to come in and paint the marina they pay to be in. It doesn't seem right, but I think there are interested well holders and individuals in general that would love to just come down and help and show community support. And maybe not having the option with the playground, they've got it in other ways now. Flower beds, the main pier, items like that. So I think getting it out there, we can't totally bank on it. We may be interested in having youth volunteers, but they may not be as interested in it. That may have to come with them, grandparents to kind of get that motivation going. So I think it's something we can definitely tap into, and Stedman and this commission will be able to bring in some help for us. I look forward to that.
It occurred to me that everyone on the commission would probably want to know that the regular Tuesday night regattas that start right off our main pier start this coming Tuesday night, the 23rd, and run for approximately 15 weeks or so, with a little window in there for the debut Mackinac race. But anybody wants to come down and watch the races, it's a perfect place to see those starts. They're very competitive.
And Chad,
They start at 7 o'clock.
maybe that's a Facebook post if there's room on Tuesday or Monday.
Yep.
To let people know.
Mike, a couple questions that
Yeah,
are
absolutely.
the pancake breakfast date.
29th.
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day.
Yeah, Memorial Day starts at 9 a.m. Okay, it's 9 to 11 is the breakfast.
All right. And then the other thing is, you mentioned you signed a contract with JB Hutt.
Yep.
Is that for all 7 days?
It'll be open every day.
I believe it will be every day. I've got to double check to see if there is one day, but I got to go back and look in there. I believe it's for all 7 days.
I know that that's important. I think
families should know that when they go down there, that it's gonna be open.
Absolutely.
And to be only open 5 days or something is probably not a good thing. If it is, I think we need 7 days.
Yeah.
And if we don't, maybe we have to find something else down there because
Sure.
kids are down there swimming and they wanna get something.
Yeah. And that's the thing you kind of run into is just like you might see with a lot of restaurants around here closed on Mondays. Monday tends to be that day.
Well,
You don't get a lot of
if
that
that's the case,
business.
if you can't get someone in on Monday, then people should know that, so they're not gonna count on.
Sure.
That's all. I think 6 days we could probably live with if everyone knows, so you know to send it to the lunch that day. Yeah.
The plan is 7 days. I'll go back and look at it one more time, but I believe it's 7 days a week. No earlier than 7:30 PM close. And I want to say the open time is 8 AM. And again, that might be something where we make just some decisions if he plans to open early on a Saturday for a breakfast, try some breakfast options, things like that. We can obviously cater to that and we'll put that advertisement out that there's pancake breakfast on a Saturday starting at 7. I don't think that would be an issue of opening an hour earlier than the 8 AM if you're throwing out an option like that for breakfast. I think there's plans of baked breakfast sandwiches, things like that, so boaters coming in can go right over there, grab that, and go out of the lake. So there's some added items to the menu.
All right, good. And then the next thing, when's the next communicator going?
We are currently talking with a couple of third-party opportunities to change up the entire layout and format of the communicator.
Okay.
Might turn into more of a magazine option.
All right.
Still coming out quarterly. And that we're still working on that right now.
Okay, so that might be a good opportunity for us to talk about or to put in there, sign up, here's how you sign up for Constant Contact.
Yep.
Because I think out of all the Grosse Pointe, different departments, that the Constant Contact that you put out is good, it's quick, you don't need to sit there and read it for 4 or 5 minutes, it's right there, a paragraph or two.
Yeah.
Do we make the main point focus Facebook or Constant Contact? I don't know if you have both.
It's probably a bit more of a focus on Constant Contact than it's Facebook, because not
I think so
everyone's on
too.
Facebook. I think the plan is, the more Stedman gets comfortable with things and we build up staff, we can investigate and, approach city administration with other social media options.
I'll tell you, Chad, I'm curious to see what Stedman thinks as a younger person, because I think we are, I sense we're just missing. I'm just admiring.
I can tell you right now that I would just are a little bit of our age. Looking at Stedman's Facebook page, I can tell the last time he's been on it hasn't been within the last week or so. So I can hear, but there's other streams that he knows we can reach some of the individuals, even the teenagers, teams, things like that we're not tapping into. And some of that stems from just finding the time and the staff to be able to do that. Again, if you have certain people, he can jump on those things and get it for us, where 2 months ago, I probably wasn't in a position to start looking into that and reaching out to people that way.
Well, I'm saying it's a beacon, and I'm not raising my hand to fix it, but I mean, I'm circling things, and I'm like, well, landscaping, the pancakes, these are things that the missing part is getting it out to the community.
Yeah. And sometimes that's where you kind of have to designate someone to handle that, whether we get the approval to a front desk staff to say, hey, run it by us, but every day we're looking to put 2 or 3 things up. Let's touch base as a team. Let's make sure we have these 3 things covered. Let's look to see if City Hall or Public Works has anything scheduled to go out later, so that we're not, putting out 6 things in the day. And everybody's like, why'd you just hammered us in 3 hours with 6 different items?
Yes.
Let's look and talk. And that's where the city as a whole is getting better at that, but we've got to communicate when you're down staff, or as you see City Hall having new staff come in with individuals retiring, they're still learning the job itself and might not be putting out certain things as much as they used to, or where they want to be at putting information out to the public. So us getting comfortable with things, discussing it, we're going to be able to add things and put things out on a more regular
And
basis.
it's not a criticism of, I think this is a city government thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's
I also think it's not an or. The Constant Contact and the emails and how you register is a lot of the programming, a lot of the registration. If we're going to open an hour early and do a blueberry pancakes on this Saturday, I mean, that Facebook you've got, or other social media. So I think getting Stedman up to speed and getting some focus on that. And then this is going to be, I think, driven too by the city. And so Chad's got some other inputs here besides the commission that will dictate some of that.
But you will be impressed, whatever decision they make with the new style of communicator. I think the residents are going to be impressed with it, and they're going to like how it goes out. And working with another company again, who holds us accountable, enforces certain departments, things like that, to give them the information ahead of time. That is one of my big goals, is to make sure those things are now going on the calendar in advance. So we know, I may not have all the fine details worked out yet, but you're always going to know when brunch with Santa is. You're always going to know when Halloween in the park is. And those are the things, getting it a little more comfortable, that I can start putting it on the calendar.
So Santa's going to be at Halloween now?
Sorry.
Are all the commission members automatically put on the distribution list for constant contact already? If not, I would recommend we do that. Okay? Yeah.
That's a good point, because I was thinking to myself, I got to go home and look at that.
That's what I was thinking. I'm thinking.
Let's try it out.
Exactly.
Are there any difficulty in signing up?
I know.
Because then you might know what another neighbor someone deals with that. Well, I tried to sign up, but I couldn't. I wonder why I can't. Then that's what a good majority of phone calls the front desk takes, is trying to get in and I don't know. It says reset your password. I don't know how. So you might spend a day just, and that's what we run into of, the flyer we're about to put out tomorrow, Steph puts in the bottom of it. Make sure you're up to date on your registration, or sorry, help me with what you put on the bottom, your account, so that you have everything. So we
All
can get on
holders,
there.
yeah.
Yes. So, and it's
And
got
by the way, one other thing, the May 29th pancake breakfast, immediately following that is what's called the Fleet Blessing. And that's open to all boats in the area. If they want to go out and basically it's a parade of boats that go by the main pier. There's a minister out there blessing them as they go by. And if anybody's interested in that, it might be good to include that in the constant contact kind of.
Good news is we received the electronic version of that flyer today, and included on that is.
Perfect.
So
Excellent.
that will be included on.
Any other comments, questions from any of the commissioners? Public comment on non-agenda items.
Public's been really quiet.
Yeah.
All right, hearing no public
Yeah.
Please come on up.
Thank you. My name is Bill Helton, and I'm the Global Operations Director for Owens Able Table. What Owens Able Table is right now it's a food trailer that is going to target, recruit, and hire special needs young adults. Specifically, the ones who are close to aging out of Full Circle. And our goal would be to work with these individuals, with these young adults, and hopefully get them prepared for, to learn a new set of skills. Definitely to let them know that they have a place in our community. Definitely let them know that people still care about their opinions and what they have going on. So hopefully what our main goal is to prepare them, for further work in possibly a restaurant or maybe fast food place. But I mean, any of us can go to McDonald's or Wendy's or whatever and get a sandwich or a hamburger that looks like somebody just slapped the crap together and like, you want me to eat this? So that's not what we're about. I'll tell you that the idea for Owen's Able Table was from my son Owen, who just 10 days ago finished his life skills program at Hope College. So he went there for 4 years. It costs probably just as much as an MSU degree, but there's a point where your kids, you say that the sky is blue, they're going to say, no, it's not, it's green. They're just not going to agree. So it was the best for us to send him. He lived with roommates for 4 years. He learned all these skills, cooking, cleaning, shopping, relationships, jobs and everything. So that's, I had to say something today because we just filed our articles of incorporation yesterday. So now this is actually happening. And I think that I caught quite a few buzzwords here tonight that are exciting. We talked about Patterson Park and we talked about JB's Food Hut, and Marty talked about other, needing food in other places. So what we're thinking, is that we're gonna go by word of mouth. I don't really foresee us going to like big street fairs, possibly the thing in the West End, those little festivals. And also, we've talked about just thrown the idea around of, just setting up at Patterson Park for kayakers, walkers, whoever, could be just coffee and packaged donuts or packaged whatever. Just keep it in mind that everybody who's doing the work here is some kind of a special needs young adult. So I don't, right now I'm at the stage of printing business cards on the Avery labels. Those are on my printer at home. Well, home is that way. So I have nothing to give you, but right now the trailer is in the shop. It's getting a pre-inspection inspection. So there's a bunch of stuff that has to be done before Wayne County before we can operate. So this is actually happening and I'm looking forward to giving you more information as we have it. And hopefully at the September meeting, I'll be just flush with cash and I can pay for the water system. That's not really true, but just wanted you to know who we are and you will be hearing from us again. I'm sure we'll be bugging Chad. I'm sure we'll be bugging James. Possibly even Marty. Who knows? But thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And we don't typically touch base too much on, but I believe I've already had discussions with Mary Lou Muir about your project.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely have some opportunities for you. I think we kind of talked about after 6 may not be the way to start off, but Patterson Park, some of the nights down at the pool. One thing about JB is he's always welcomed other food vendors being down there, so he's not going to keep anyone out. So we definitely around the city, just some businesses that don't offer food, I can guarantee you will bring you guys in. So I expect you to do really well in this community.
Yeah, and especially when everybody's closed on Monday nights.
Setting up a food trailer over in Patterson Park's parking lot or something sounds like a great idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. So I have another motion. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Before you do that,
Before we do that, Tom?
thank you. I just wanted everybody to know, again, I work part-time. If you need something from me, if you've got a pen, 586-531-8636. The first time you call me, you're gonna have to leave a message because I won't recognize your number. But I guarantee you I'll call you back. I guarantee you I'll take action. Something needs to be done and it's not my day to work, that's okay. Figure it out. The last thing is on June 6th, there was going to be a boating party at the patio, and it's being put on by the well holders. Everybody's going to bring something to drink and pass around, but it's something that's been brought up to myself and to Stacy and to Chad by several boaters, 10 boating families who said, we'd really like to get to know everybody in the marina. So June 6th, we're gonna have a party on the patio, like a meet and greet for anybody that's in the marina that wants to know their neighbors, other boaters in the marina. And that's it. So
After the Tuesday night race that night?
Excellent. All right. So we will consider that discussion on our motion to adjourn.
Yeah. That was your discussion.
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
What is our next meeting date?
Our next meeting is September
20th.
13 is what